talking a little Calvin Johnson here because of these the youth that the Detroit Lions have in that room. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson
Chark,
Williams,
Quintez
DJ Chark, who's
Cephas,
DJ's 25 years old?
DJ Chark's 24.
25 years old. And then, of course, Quintez Cephas coming back from injury. I think it's important for Calvin to get involved with these guys. And I think it's incumbent upon the organization now to make it right, to do whatever it takes to make it right. Look, I don't know what that is, if that's just stroking a check or what, but you cannot, and we've seen them get with Barry.
Yeah, oh my God.
But I think having Calvin, and you can get with Calvin down the road, and that would be all fine and good, and we believe that will happen eventually, at least I hope, kind of like a Barry Sanders situation. But because his influence can be greatest now amongst this wide receiver core, I just think is really important, and I don't think that should be overlooked. This franchise has been a miserable franchise for the last 70 years, and they've got certain players whose names are synonymous with this organization. Calvin Johnson's a first ballot Hall of Famer. And you've got these wide receivers who are so impressionable and so youthful and can benefit so much from his knowledge. I just think now is as good a time as ever to get this thing right. Josh Reynolds, Zeke pointed out,
great call
on the
they got
chat.
too many wide receivers.
Yeah,
now.
Absolutely.
You look at a situation like Barry, what happened? Obviously, we understand it was Bobby Ross. Call it what it was. 99, 2000. Barry retires in 2000, not of his own will. He didn't want to retire. Just look what happened to Barry. Like after that happened, he was quiet, he was distant, he didn't do much of TV, he didn't do much of interviews, he didn't do much of commercials, he didn't do anything with the Detroit Lions. Why would you have the best running back, I didn't stutter, the best running back of all time? Why would you allow it to get to that?
Yeah.
Where it took this long for him to come back into the fold. Like, don't do that with Calvin. Calvin's right here. It's still fresh. You guys can right this wrong. Now, look, I'm not in the front office. I don't know exactly what it would take to right the wrong. I don't know what the check is. I don't know if it's 1.7. If it's 1, is it 800,000? Is it a handshake? Is it a I'm sorry? I don't know what it would take. But I do know this. You just drafted a young man 12th overall that you said could change your franchise. In 2007, you drafted a young man 2nd overall that did change your franchise. Wouldn't you like for him to help him?
And that's really the point, Braylon. And Tom, I'll get you involved in this as well. I'm not sure what it will take to get Calvin Johnson back in the fold, but at the same time, Maz, how important do you feel it is to this organization?
Oh hell, man, how many times do I bring it up? I always drop it in. I'm always constantly dropping in Calvin Johnson's name. You got to make it right. I don't think that's really on the top of Lions fans' minds these days. We just want to get this thing straight. We've got our quarterback all of a sudden. Brad Holmes says yesterday, yep, we're building around Jared Goff. So that's the quarterback. They're happy with the quarterback room, and I guess that's the only thing I'm really worried about right now.
And I'm not sure it's on the top of Lions fans' minds at all. And
no.
Honestly, probably shouldn't even give it a second thought, but as an organization, I'm not sure why you wouldn't want to do everything to improve the players on your roster. I mean, we had this story on our rundown for a week, and we really never touched it. Right. But it was about Amon-Ra St. Brown being mentored by Terrell Owens.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. I liked it.
Excuse me.
I liked it.
Excuse me. That's fine.
Yeah.
I got nothing wrong with Terrell Owens.
But you prefer our own.
Calvin Johnson is a couple of miles away. He makes his home here.
I got you, man.
Said.
I got
you. He makes his home here.
And he's chill right now.
Don't you think? Dynamite drop it.
Thank you.
Don't you think, though, it would be worth it and incumbent upon the organization to facilitate that relationship?
Of course.
So here's the thing. Somebody's going to facilitate that relationship, because one thing I do know, I know Calvin Johnson well. Maz, I know you know him. Ryan, I know you know him. I know him well. Calvin's a hell of a guy. Like, Calvin's one of the best type of individuals that you could be. He's going to reach out to Jameson Williams because, one, he doesn't necessarily have to care about the Detroit Lions front office, but he cares about the Detroit Lions. He cares about the position of wide receivers. I guarantee you he's going to reach out. But the Lions are the ones that got to facilitate that deal moving forward. And let's get it done before the season. And the reason why I say that, Calvin Johnson, he gets inducted to the Lion Pride. I think that's what they call it. When he has wearing the Hall of Fame jacket, the whole ring ceremony for him. It was an amazing ceremony, except for one thing. They booed the hell out of Sheila for him.
Right.
Nobody wants to see that. And you as a Detroit Lion, Sheila Hemp, you, because drop the 4. Sheila Hemp, you. How did that make you feel? It didn't make me feel good watching you get booed, because that's not all on you. But wouldn't it be easy for you to figure it out, to spearhead? Hey, you know what, Rod? What do we got to do to get Calvin right? Like, what is it going to take to get Calvin right? What do we have to do so that next time there's a ceremony or next time there's an event, it's not the Detroit Lions fans and Calvin versus the Detroit Lions and the front office organization? You want everybody to be together.
Jaron on the YouTube chat says, bring CJ in and he can help with the pain management with the weed. I'm not sure that's a joke or not, but that is an aspect of healing too that I think Calvin has a whole hell of a lot of knowledge about.
It's illegal.
And he can, it's illegal?
In the NFL, it's illegal. Like, just like some corporations.
What do you mean it's illegal?
It's illegal in the NFL.
It's not on the up and
It
up
should
anymore.
not be.
Well, the players take care of themselves.
It shouldn't be, but it's not illegal in the NFL. But the thing about that, they only test for marijuana during training camp. Little known fact, little side note. Oh, boops! I ruined the fourth wall.
Even for Gordon, even for Josh Gordon.
They only test. Well, no, he tests every day.
Okay.
If you're in the
day.
system, maybe.
But training camp, you test for PEDs, then you test for street drugs. That's it for street drugs for the rest of the season. So everybody
don't wanna
smokes.
know.
Everybody smokes during the season, so it won't be legal. So he can't get in on the legal side of things.
Okay, but even so, as an organization, if they're not going to test for it and it is something that the players do
under the table,
wouldn't you want a guy that kind of, has got some knowledge about it and say, hey, this is what's going on? I don't know. I could be making too much of this, and I've been known to make a mountain out of a molehill and a lot of different things. I just think that when you're the Detroit Lions, you take every possible avenue at your disposal to get the guys on your team better. And I think this wide receiver group would be better if Calvin Johnson was in the room with them.
The franchises that get it, Ryan, and this is great for Maz and you. The franchises that get it, you don't have to tell them this. When you go to a Steelers game, you're gonna see Franco Harris. You're going to see Jerome Bettis. You're going to see Troy Polamalu, who, by the way, lives in the West Coast. You're going to see those guys. When you go to Green Bay, same thing. When you go to the Raiders, same thing. When you go to the 49ers, I'm tired of seeing Jerry Rice. Like, we get it. You're the greatest of all time. Get off the field. You see their stars. You see their Hall of Famers. You see their players because they keep bringing them back. You know why they do that? So that they can show free agents, so they can show other people around the league, hey, we take care of ours. Like, we take care of our guys. Our guys are proud to be 49ers. Our guys are proud to be Steelers and part of that steel curtain. They're proud. Detroit Lions, Chris Pillman just came back. How long did that take? Barry Sanders, that took from 2000 to 4 years ago? Like, come on.
When he decided he wanted to make some money?
I think he wanted to make, but he makes a ton of money off those high like signings.
Yeah.
Like Barry makes $500,000 just on autograph signings a year.
Sure.
But I think he missed the spotlight. Like Barry, he deserved the spotlight. Like, you're the best running back of all time, and they ran you out of town. That's not your fault. And I think he finally made peace with it and said, I'm gonna get mine.
Well, he never wanted to be in the spotlight. He finally decided, hey, this ain't so bad after all.
Because it's all homage.
Yeah.
Like, it's paying homage.
Yeah.
Man.
I brought up the secret wide receiver.
Secret wide receiver. One of the most loaded rooms for the Detroit Lions is the wide receiver position. Shout out to my man T. Foss in the building. Uncle T in the building.
Foss.
But you look at the wide receiver room. You look at they draft Jameson Williams, who you know won't be available for the beginning of training camp, which is good. We want it to be that way. You have Amon-Ra St. Brown. You saw he played, Jeff, at the end of last year. You bring in DJ Chark, who I'm hearing nothing but great things about. I'm hearing his speed, his ability to drop on a dime, plant. Khalif Raymond, another slot guy that we had last year, made some plays. But what about this guy, Quintez Cephas, wide receiver, who actually was the go-to guy at the start of the season last year, wide receiver out of Wisconsin. I guess I'm not the only one that likes him. Dan Campbell seems to like him as well.
You know, he's doing what we asked him to do, and last year it was kind of like, put him in a competitive environment, all of a sudden he shows up. And that's when you really feel him. And yesterday we get in one of those competitive environments, and who shows up? He showed up again. So we don't ignore those things. I don't ignore them, you know. So that was good to see out of him.
You know what I like too? He's wearing a real wide receiver number.
Yeah.
Number 87. A real
knew
wide
you'd
receiver
appreciate that,
number.
Maz.
Okay?
So you talking stuff? I wore 17. That's
I
not
don't care. I like in the 80s. Give me numbers in the 80s.
Well, Maz, I wish I can go over and do it all over again just for you. I would have chose 80 like my first number in Michigan. But I like this by Dan Campbell, and I like Quintez Cephas. Last year, you saw him. He was the go-to guy for the Lions for the most part of the first 6 games of the season before he got injured. Now just look at that room, and you know what it means. What does it mean to a guy like Jared Goff, Jeff, took a look around? He has T.J. Hockenson, he has Quintez Cephas, he has Khalif Raymond, he has Amon-Ra St. Brown, DJ Chark, and eventually Jameson Williams. What does that do for a guy that also has one of the best lines in the NFL?
Trust. And I think that was a big thing last year he didn't have with these receivers. Number one, because they were in and out of the lineup. But you saw Quintez last year show flashes. But what I'm excited for with this wide receiver room is the competition. That these guys, last year, Khalif could play, Quintez could play. Now, if you ain't producing, you're not playing. Because DJ Chark, you mentioned, Jameson Williams.
Josh Reynolds, another guy.
Josh Reynolds, the guy that they brought back. So that's what I'm most excited about, the competition. I think Quintez will find his way in the lineup, man. He's a scrapper.
Hey, we forgot about Kadaro Hodge. Isn't he still on the team?
Trinity Benson.
Yeah, don't forget Trinity Benson.
That's Trinity
Fifth round
Benson.
pick for him, didn't we?
He only got scratched, 10 out of 12 games or something like that?
Nah, man.
He said he's
Anyway.
lighting up camp.
Hey,
But
Yes, Spence, that's true.
you hit the nail on the head, and it's competition. Like, it's competition. Like, it's great when you have competition. I think it's also great when you have competition when there's no clear-cut guy. Like, obviously, you can say Amon-Ra St. Brown because of how he came on and he had the better year last year. But you can easily look at Quintez Cephas was the guy for Jared Goff early in the year. You can look at DJ Chark as being the guy that they paid to come in. He's 6'3". He runs 4'3". And then you look at Jameson Williams. You look at a guy that they drafted. They moved up 20 slots to get. Then you look at Josh Reynolds, who's the guy that Jared Goff has known the longest. And he's helped the team. That's where you create that competition. You got guys that are trying to work and get in there and be the guy. It does nothing but breed the best players.
so what can the second-year kid like Amon-Ra St. Brown expect now? Because now he's not a secret.
Right.
So what does he have to do now? Because let's face it, it ain't going to be so easy for him this time.
See, now is when you take your knowledge of the game up to the next level. See, in the first year, you're just going out there and you're plug and play. Like, literally, Jared Goff was going out there and tell you, hey, go over here and run this route. Go over here and run this route. And eventually, you're starting to learn it. But you guys are still behind the 8 ball in terms of talent around you. So you're just really trying to learn your spot. Right. You want to know the Z position. I want to know what the Z does. That's all I'm focusing on because that's all I have time to because it's 17 games and it's rapid fire. Now that he has off season, he's learned his position. He's learned the position that he knows that he plays. Now it's time to learn the concept. Yesterday when we were talking about what makes Cooper Kupp so dangerous, what makes him worth the money that he got, it's the cerebral assassin part of the game that Jeff just alluded to by tapping the skull. He's a cerebral assassin. He knows the concept. He knows what is expected. He knows the line slides. He knows the blitzes on the other side. See, now in his second year, now is when you take your game up a notch in terms of the mental aspect and the mental way you approach the game, Jeff.
Yeah, you hit it right on the head, I think. I mean, Maz, you can speak to it as well. With having T.J. Hockenson back and these weapons, more weapons, yes, towards the end of last season, they knew Amon-Ra St. Brown was the guy. He still got his. And now you're going to have more talent surrounding him. Hopefully, that's going to be more beneficial for him as well.
I want to show you guys something that I came across yesterday. The Detroit Lions social media team does a great job, by the way. They're as good as HBO when they do.
They're funny
when they do their stuff. When HBO does their Hard Knocks, ESPN, they got nothing on the Detroit Lions.
No, Detroit Lions
they do their inside the den, they call it. This is from draft night. This is when Brad Holmes was chatting around and talking to Minnesota and trying to make a deal to get Jameson Williams over here. In case you missed it, folks, this is how draft night went down in the Detroit Lions war room.
This is my Hey, hello. Hey, we're all good now? All right, let's do it. Hey, man, I really appreciate it, man. Talking to you this week, man. Appreciate you. It's coming. You good?
That's what the hell I'm talking about right
See
there.
that?
Do you see the energy in that room?
Yeah.
I got goosebumps, man.
How do you not?
How do you not?
How do you not? The energy in that room was electric.
That doesn't happen if the Saints don't jump and get Olave. It doesn't happen.
You're right.
That deal.
So now, Maz, you as a person that has been very vocal as it relates to drafting guys that are injured or coming off injury, like now when you see everybody in that room like that excited about getting Jameson Williams and now they're protecting him the right way, does it make you a little more cause for ease, or are you still optimistic?
Listen,
optimism is the wrong word.
I want it to work
Nervous.
out, all right? I don't like drafting players that have injuries, and then they come back in the next round and they get Pascal, and now he's hurt again.
Right.
And he was hurt before in college, then hurt at the bowl game, and now hurt in OTAs. It doesn't give me a good feeling that they drafted back-to-back players. And then a few rounds later, they get the tight end from Vatech that has got the ACL.
Retired.
As well. No, this was before. That's the undrafted guy.
Oh, yeah.
The tight end from Vatech that's got the injury. So they drafted 3 guys with injuries. I want them to work.
Yeah.
Am I nervous? Yeah, I'm a Lions fan.
I look at it this way. I mean, hey, Henry Ford Health System is supposed to be the best health system in the world. So we're bringing
take care of them boys.
Exactly.
I went there the other day for my migraines.
Exactly.
I hope it works.
You went to the one I was born at.
There
West
you go.
Grand Boulevard,
I was
off
there.
the Lodge Freeway.
I was on 11th floor there, baby.
1, 2, 3, 4 a.m. 2000. Well, not
Look at you.
2000. 1983.
I was 2000. I got you in 2000.
But how cool was that video?
It was great to see, man. They gave us some insights, some behind closed doors, and also it can show you for the people that were, why did they move up 20 spots for a wide receiver? Why did they move up 20 spots for a wide receiver that was hurt? You see that energy in a group like that is in charge with the team's future, all that money. You got to be pretty excited watching how excited they were, Jeff.
Yeah, they got their guy. They found their guy and they wanted to go get him.
We got to bring it back home, man, with the Detroit Lions. Jeff, minicamp just ended for the Detroit Lions, and everybody seems to be excited, from Dan Campbell to Sheila Ham to the offensive coordinators, defensive coordinator, Aaron Glenn, Ben Johnson. What are you looking forward to seeing so far this season coming up with the Detroit Lions and all that they've done so far with the draft and offseason acquisitions?
It's really right now, and we talked about it, the coordinators. I'm excited to see Ben Johnson. That's number one for me. I mean, when I was on the morning show talking with Adam, when Ben Johnson was first, upgraded after Anthony Lynn was dismissed, this is a guy I've been advocating to be offensive coordinator for quite some time. So now that he's here and now he's working with the starters, he talked about making sure Jared Goff has a career year, which you like to see, that enthusiasm. But it's got to be Ben Johnson. I know what I'm getting out of Aaron Glenn. I know what I'm getting out of most of these players. Now the rookies I'm excited for, but Ben Johnson, even if he isn't calling plays, that's somebody that I'm looking forward to because I think he can be a real stud in the city of Detroit.
Well, it's interesting that you bring up Ben Johnson as well as Aaron Glenn talking about the coordinators. Yeah. Your boy Dan Campbell had something to say about his coordinators and how he was excited.
To have your owner in the building and to be here and to know she knows who we are. She knows the issues that we have as it pertains to, could be anything from players to concepts to, it doesn't matter. Man, it could be what's going on in the weight room, because she's around and she's hearing all of it. And so she knows from our own perspective, Brad and myself, as to how we feel about certain things, where we feel like we need to go, where we feel like we're deficient, where we feel like we can really, and I just think when that's the case, man, I think that's a recipe for good things to happen.
This actually was a quote. This actually was a clip talking about Dan Campbell, how he feels about Sheila E. Sheila E.
He likes her
Sheila
too.
E. Hey,
Great drummer.
Love Bizarre. Love
Great
Bizarre is one of
drummer.
my favorite songs. But this is Dan Campbell talking about Sheila Ham being around the organization, being able to be seen, asking questions. And I think he's absolutely right. One thing I noticed when I played the game, when we saw the owner around, it meant that much more. When you see Woody Johnson coming into the weight room, he's always wearing the hat and the green tie, but you see him in the weight room, you see him in the training room, talking to players, hey, how's it going, how's the injury? When you see an owner around, you see that an owner cares, it makes you that much excited to be a part of a franchise or organization. It's just like when we see Chad come in. When you see Chad come in, it's like, oh, shoot, Chad's here.
That's true.
It's going to be a good week. It makes you want to work. It makes you want to go that much harder. So I think I like this, what he's saying about Sheila Ham.
And that's crazy you bring that up, because that's what I was going to ask you, is how does it, from a player's perspective, how does it feel when a person like Sheila Ford Hamp walks in? And that's awesome to hear. That's what you want to hear with a person like Sheila Ford. Number one, gives the players and Dan Campbell this new regime confidence, but it shows she cares, and it shows she wants to change the narrative. Now, people can sit here and crap on Ford ownership, but what you can't appreciate is Sheila's done everything in her power to take that next step and be there and be in person for these guys. So credit to her.
Yeah, it's not her fault.
No,
it's not her fault.
it's just the last name.
She's the last Ford that has an opportunity to take a chance at this team, and it's turning out that she's the best one so far. Let's face it.
Yeah.
I mean, Mr. Ford, when he had the team, he had one playoff run, right? They were good in the 90s, but he got them to the playoffs one time. And then you know the rest of the story, unfortunately. So here we are. And then the second time, you're talking about the coordinators.
Yeah.
So Dan Campbell went on to say he's liking what his guys are doing. Ben Johnson, of course, on the offensive side. And on the defensive side, Aaron Glenn. He says, I kind of like what they're doing. Spence, you could hit this one. He kind of likes like they're playing a kind of a chess game against each other in the OTAs.
You want to feel like your coordinators are playing a chess game amongst each other, and you're trying to be one step ahead of each other, and because now it creates problems, and then you learn to solve problems, and then you go to the next thing, and I think that's how you really get better schematically, and then just developing your talent. What can they do inside the system? You know, where can we take advantage of a weakness on either side? And I feel like we're doing that right now. So that's what gives me that's what makes me feel pretty good right now, because I can feel our coordinators playing the chess game, and man, we are. There's problems being solved and created on both sides.
And that's what's exciting about the Detroit Lions now that they have some more players on the offensive side. Now they're getting more players on the defensive side. It's no fun when you have one good offensive coordinator and one good coordinator and one good side of the ball. You beat up on the other side of the ball. It's good when you have a mix. I remember being with the New York Jets. We had Brian Schottenheimer, and we had a list of offensive players that could play the game. And then on the opposite side, we had Mike Pettin, who ended up being the Cleveland Browns head coach. But we had him, and then we had Darrelle Revis, and then we had Antonio Cromartie. You just get that battle in now. Each practice, each period, guys are trying to out-scheme the other guy. Guys are trying to play, run a Knights Bishop. You know what I'm saying? When you're doing 7-on-7. So it's good to hear Dan Campbell be able to talk about his coordinators like that, talk about his players like that, because when the coordinators feel confident, that's when the players start to feel confident, and then you see results on the field.
And Dan Campbell instills that. Like everybody, when Dan Campbell was first hired, and people like to bring up the reports when he was an interim head coach for Miami that he made his players do Oklahoma drills. He loves competition. Whether it's players, coaches, this is what they're doing. Whether it's Penei Sewell and Aiden Hutchinson, or it's Ben Johnson on Aaron Glenn. And you heard Ben Johnson, too, speak about it at the press conference. You know, Aaron Glenn wants to be the best coordinator ever in Detroit. Yeah. Ben Johnson's like, whoa. I want to take that title as well. So I appreciate that. If you want to be great and Dan Campbell instills that confidence, man, you got to love it.
You got to love this coaching staff that they put together. I know we've been talking about it, but it's unique. No one in the NFL has what the Lions have right now.
They can suit up.
Yeah, I really am looking forward to seeing Hard Knocks and getting down there to Allen Park. I mean, Corey Woods is down there. He's lucky, man. He gets to be down there every single day, and he's working his tail off. But he's down there and watching things happen, and to see these pros that I used to watch play now coach, it's really, I think it's, Bray, you got to like it. It's better than seeing some guy that off the street coaching you.
Oh, yeah.
You're seeing a peer coaching you.
The great thing I like about it with this team is, and you've talked about this early on in the year as we got my boy Adam Baydoun in the studio having a little fun on this Friday. Meow. Shout out to Super Troopers again. If you guys seen that movie, little meow action coming at you. But all their coaches are former players. Like it's nothing like having former players. They know what they're talking about. It's nothing like having a guy that's been in your shoes. It's nothing like having a guy that's been there. It's nothing like having a guy that understands what you're talking about. It's nothing like having a guy that may have had problems with the coach before, and he understands that. Like we used to do this thing in all training camps where it's coach vision. So basically, whatever coach is a former player, we will find his video or find his highlight, and you put up their plays. And, it always gets the guys going. It gets you excited. But at most, you got about 5 guys that used to play, or maybe 4, and you're looking for the highlights, and it's a couple. And you look at this highlight reel. Like, just imagine putting on Deuce Staley's highlight. How excited will a team get watching Deuce Staley's highlight? How excited is a team going to get watching Mark Brunell's highlight? What about Antoine Randall with the reverse pass in the Super Bowl at Ford Field?
Wow.
For a touchdown.
Nice call.
Aaron Glenn.
Over 40 picks, man.
A monster on the DV. He had more picks than I had touchdowns, man. I don't know. Now I'm mad. I don't like him anymore. But it's just one thing when you see that. It gets the guys going. It gets the juices flowing. And I think they have a very unique team and a very unique room, and I'm excited to see what that can look like this year. I'm still going with 6 wins, but damn it, I want them to win more.
Coming up here, we're talking about the head coach of Notre Dame, Marcus Freeman. and the shots that he took at Ohio State. He has since tried to walk them back a little bit. If you could just go down, do you have that stick? Okay, we're just going to go down the line here. So Notre Dame head coach Marcus Freeman apparently took a shot at Ohio State's academics. Now, the Buckeyes have the numbers. They say otherwise. And again, that was a Sports Illustrated report. So we'll advance. I
wonder how they got those numbers.
Yeah, we'll advance to the next one. So this is from CBS. To make his point, so Freeman brought up the two most significant football stops in his career before coming to Notre Dame in 2021. At Ohio State, Freeman played defensive back for Jim Tressel, eventually becoming a fifth-round draft choice of the Chicago Bears. At Cincinnati, he earned a reputation as one of the nation's best defensive coordinators. Quote, this is the quote that got him in trouble. You don't go to class at places like that. Okay, take some online classes, show up for your appointments. At Notre Dame, you're forced every day to go to class. And that was the quote that got him in trouble. Yeah. So then he comes on and tries to walk it back. I wanted to set the record straight. I was misquoted by Dennis Dodd in this article, and key words were missing from the quote that upset a lot of people that I care about.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I would never disrespect Ohio State. I would never say you don't go to class and disrespect my alma mater.
Here's a question. What words were missing from that, though?
That is what I don't know.
What words were missing?
That is what I don't know. Now, he goes on and quoted as saying, we addressed it head on and just say this is different. We address it head on and just say this is different. You're not going to be able to stay in all athletic dorm or apartment complex, and you're going to be forced to have a roommate who could just be a normal student. But that roommate could also be a CEO on Wall Street. That roommate could also be somebody that you'll forever be connected with.
Okay.
Talking about Notre Dame, yada, yada.
Okay. I don't need to hear
either
anymore.
way.
I've heard enough. So this is very interesting. When this came out, I was actually at a golf outing Tuesday for Meyer, the LPGA Simply Gift. And right when this comment came out, I was actually standing right next to Keith Byers. Keith Byers is an All-American fullback from Ohio State, played in the 70s, played for the Dolphins, played for the Jets.
He's a horse.
He's still to this day, Mass. He is built like a unit. And he looks like he's a little shorter than TJ Lang, but he's built like TJ Lang. He's Ohio State through and through. He had an Ohio State shirt. He smells like Ohio State.
He was like a fullback, became like a tight end almost.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So when he saw that, he was pissed. He said, you don't make comments like that. You don't talk about Ohio State like that, the team that gave you the opportunity. Like, he went on, and he was very upset. And he said that he was going to have to walk those comments back. Well, the next day, Marcus Freeman did walk him back. But going back to when I was talking to Keith said, you know what he's trying to do in Notre Dame. It's an audition for Ohio State. But now, because he's made those comments, Ohio State would never let him be the head coach. But you know what I said? I said I beg to differ. I said I remember in 2007, there was a coach at Stanford that said some things about his alma mater. And I quote, Michigan is a good school, and I got a good education there, but the athletic department has ways to get borderline guys in, and when they're in, they steer them in courses to sports communication because it's easier. That comment was by yours truly, Jim Harbaugh. But guess who Jim Harbaugh is now the head coach of? The Michigan Wolverines. So I told Keith, I said, you're full of it. I said he's still going to be the coach of Ohio State because he was All-American there. He's going to have success in Notre Dame, and they're going to want to have a new coach because Ryan Day, to me, I think he'll be out soon. And so then he tells me, no. I said, why? And he says, because Marcus Freeman is a black man and it's Ohio. Jim Harbaugh is a white guy and it's Michigan. I was like, damn, that's deep. But I have to agree with him. I don't think Marcus Freeman is going to get a chance. And it made sense the next day because he walked his comments back. Jim Harbaugh never walked those comments back because he didn't have to. And this isn't about Jim Harbaugh. This is about Marcus Freeman. He walked those comments back the next day because those Ohio State alums, those Ohio State boosters were on his ass. They told him, hey, look, you may not be at Ohio State, but you're always Ohio State. Probably scared the hell out of him. So Marcus Freeman walked those comments back. But just being next to Keith Byers there, it shed a lot of light on the situation. And you see him walk the comments back. He said they misquoted him. That quote was standard. Like it was no room for error in that quote.
Braylon, so let me ask you, just at the crux of
and Keith Byers said that, by the way, not me.
Right, and I think that's an important distinction to make too. But at the crux of the issue, is it Ohio State's belief that Marcus Freeman is basically auditioning to be the next head coach at Ohio State in his run at Notre Dame? So that's what that is.
Right.
That's what this is. Obviously, it's not like being a head coach at Notre Dame is like some fluff job. I mean, it's a very important job. It's one of the great jobs in college football. But ultimately, if you had your druthers, Marcus Freeman would eventually succeed Ryan Day at
Ohio State. You take the jobs that come as they come, but ultimately you have a goal in mind. You look at a guy like Mike Hart. Mike Hart couldn't just jump on the Michigan coaching staff. He had to go the route. He had to go Eastern, and then he had to go to Western, and then he had to go to Indiana, and now he's at Michigan, and now he's in line for what he ultimately wanted to do. Mike told me a long time ago he wanted to be the first black head coach at the University of Michigan. He's in line. You got to go a path. Marcus Freeman, he goes to Cincinnati. Now he's at Notre Dame. Now he's coaching position. He's coaching secondary. Now the defensive coordinator leaves. Now he becomes the head coach of Notre Dame. But ultimately, Ohio State is one of the schools you want to be the coach at. Look at Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh was the coach of Notre Dame. Not Notre Dame, Stanford. And had some great success out there with Andrew Luck, with guys like that, Toby Gerhart and such. Then he goes to the NFL. But in the back of a guy like that, Jim Harbaugh, mind, what did he always want to do? He wanted to go back to Michigan. Marcus Freeman wants to do the same thing. Hell, if I went to Ohio State and I had an opportunity, I would want to be the coach of Ohio State. He is auditioning for Ohio State. And it doesn't sound right because you're like, Notre Dame and Ohio State are on the same level. Yes, but to him, he's an old State guy. He ultimately wants to be the head of Ohio State down there in Columbus at the shoe. That's why he walks those comments back. You don't walk comments back like that you meant, that you were telling the truth about. We all know he was telling the truth. You don't walk those comments back and carry unless you want to be there one day.
We are extremely excited because days like yesterday, in my opinion, Braylon, they changed the course of a franchise. They changed the trajectory of a franchise. And you go from an also-ran, you go from a 23-win team, you go through a rebuild, and you finally get to a point.
Empty arena?
Completely, nearly. You go and get to a point where you finally feel like you have reached a point now where you start ascending. Last year was a pivotal point when this team won the lottery and you get Cade Cunningham. And Sadiq Bey a year earlier, who looks like he is going to be a part of this team and one of those players that is going to help compete for championships when the Pistons get there, Braylon. But not just, Sadiq and Cade. Last night you needed a little bit of luck, too. How many people, Braylon, when the Detroit Pistons slid down in the draft lottery, me included, freaked out a little bit. Yeah. This was a bottom 3 team in the NBA who had a really, really good chance at the number 1 overall pick, who certainly had a really good shot at a top 3 pick, only to fall back to 5. At that point, you're sitting there saying, man, to be good, it does take some luck. And then ultimately, you're there at 5, and you still get the guy you want. I'm not sure that there's a better player in this draft, Braylon Edwards, and I mean this with all sincerity. No disrespect to Paolo Banchero, Chet Holmgren, or Jabari Smith.
Yeah.
I fully believe that Jaden Ivey, when it's all said and done, will be the best player in this draft. Detroit got him at 5. Last night was a win for the city of Detroit and the Pistons organization.
Yeah, you definitely got to have that luck. And just looking how it's happened in the last year for the Detroit draft class, talking about different sports, look at what happened with the Detroit Lions last year. When the Detroit Lions didn't get the number 1 overall pick, everybody was shuffling around and scrambling, didn't know what was going on. And, yeah, you knew this guy was there. We thought Aiden Hutchinson was going to Jacksonville. You didn't know what Trayvon Walker was going to be. So people were like, damn, why can't we get the number 1 pick? Why do we have the number 2 pick? Well, we got Aiden Hutchinson in that pick. Last year with the Red Wings draft, oh, my God, everybody was freaking out that the Red Wings got fleeced again. Another Detroit professional sports team getting fleeced. Now they got to draft 6. Damn, why can't we draft 1? Why can't we draft 2? Why didn't we get 3? Why didn't we get 4? We got 6. Well, we got the Rookie of the Year last year, Morris Sider. Now enter this year, Oh God, we got dropped down to 5. What are we gonna do? You got to be one of those 3 teams. You got to be Orlando. You got to be OKC. You got to be right there in that top 2, top 3 to get Banchero, to get Jabari Smith. We didn't want either one of those guys. We wanted Jaden Ivey, and you started talking about last January or this past January. Jaden Ivey, in my opinion, is the most athletic player in this draft. I think he and Chet Holmgren have the most upside, but Jaden Ivey is the guy that played complement very well to what I believe Cade Cunningham has brought to this team. He and Cade are going to be a problem, and then the rest of the draft, can't wait to talk about that. Jaden Ivey is the guy that wanted to be here. Jaden Ivey's father played with the Detroit Lions. Jaden Ivey's grandfather, played with the Detroit Lions. His mother played with the Shock. Like, he's Detroit rooted. He talked about wanting to be here in Detroit. We got a little nervous thinking about the Sacramento Kings. It happens like it was supposed to, and I'm damn excited. Man, I'm floating on cloud nine right now.
I think I lost my mind a little bit last night, or at least the hair on the back of my neck and everywhere else I have hair stood up, which is a lot.
TMI.
I'm Italian and Lebanese, ladies and gentlemen. I got hair coming out of my,
ears.
we'll leave it
You're
there.
about to say ears. There you go.
When the Sacramento Kings, when Adam Silver said with the 4th pick in the 2022 NBA draft, the Sacramento Kings select, when he said Keegan Murray, I was like, oh my God, this is happening. We are going to get our guy. And that is very rare, too, where, you know, you're not the number 1, number 2, number 3 pick, and you still get your guy, and that's what happened. But Braylon, it's kind of like, and it's different for you. See, you looked at it, you got excited when they said, and with the 4th pick, and once you heard, you went nuts. You went nuts like Brad Holmes and those guys went nuts with New Orleans. It's like the Crystal Olave. You had the same type of excitement. I was on the other end. Have you ever? I'm gonna propose this to you guys in the booth, Sam, Fletch. Have you guys ever been playing blackjack and you're counting your cards? You got 13 and you're looking for that hit because you want to get 21. You want to win. You're so nervous that when you hit the 8, you think it's a 9. Damn it! Oh wait, that's an 8. That's 21. That's how I was last night. When he said Keegan Murray, I thought he said Jaden Ivey because I was expecting them to do something like that. I was expecting us to have that Detroit luck that we've had in the past. We might need to start changing that because Detroit seems to be getting on the good side of luck these days. And Braylon, I just want to point out to you, a couple of things. One, Troy Weaver.
Told you.
This is what competent leadership looks like.
Yeah.
Right? And it's not so much about Jaden Ivey getting your guy at 5. It's not panicking. You know, so many of us, Sacramento wants to trade the pick to 4. Oh, we better go up and get it. I'm one of those guys.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm right there. Oh, give Jeremy Grant the number 5 pick for the number 4 pick and make sure that you get Jaden Ivey. Part of being a competent leader is not panicking and letting things come to you. And what did we say yesterday, Braylon, when he traded away Jeremy Grant for the 2025 first-round pick of the Milwaukee Bucks through Portland? You were one of the first guys that said, and I gave you credit for this on Twitter last night, you said, this is not an isolated trade.
No.
There is something more. Do not judge this trade until you know what the other side looks like. And we now know what the other side looks like. Trades back up into the first round. A 3-team trade. You take on the contract of Kemba Walker, which you will buy out at some point when the league year starts on July 6th. And you draft potentially one of the best, if not the best, true big men in last night's draft, Jalen Duren. 6'11", rim protector, rebounder, shot blocker. It was incredible to see Troy Weaver work last night. And I'm here for it. You had mentioned the Lions and the Red Wings.
And now the Pistons.
And now 3 of the 4 have competent leadership. That's what it looks like.
I like that. Right? That
and I hear as a Detroit sports fan who it's been a rough go of it. We did the story last week. We did the topic last week about how long it's been since Detroit has seen a winner. And, man, it just feels a little bit different this morning or this afternoon.
You know what else, too, is one thing, and you and I talked about this in the group chat, is you can't tell me, and pardon me for the Bryson DeChambeau look. Look, I was out on the golf course
look
earlier,
good,
so I
Braylon.
got the Bryson DeChambeau on. I mean, he just made $250 million for losing, so, hey, it's not a bad look. No, but you can't tell me that Stevie Y is not on the phone with Troy Weaver, who's not on the phone with Brad Holmes. You can't tell me that those guys are like, look, let's turn this freaking city around. We got an opportunity. This is one of the pivotal cities in America that when it's right, when it's done right, when it's winning, when it's having success, it makes all of the sports world in North America really, really good. So I guarantee, just look at what Brad Holmes did. The key thing that you said is trust. You got to have trust in these guys because they've given you a reason to. They've given you a reason to. I think what they're doing is, like you said, they're having patience. They're not worrying about what the masses are saying. They're not worried about the masses freaking out. They're not worrying about, why did they trade to pick a Jeremy Grant? They didn't get anything for him. Oh, why did they draft Panay Sewell and not this guy? Oh, they got 6. They don't know what they're doing. Stevie Y was brought here. He doesn't know what he's doing. These guys are doing it on their own time, on their own patience. They have a plan, and they are executing it very well. It's an exciting time to be in Detroit because what Troy Weaver did last night, he shows you that he cares. He shows you that he has a pulse on the NBA. He shows you he has a pulse on the guys that want to be in Detroit, that are going to work in Detroit, and that the city are going to wrap their arms around. Troy Weaver did a damn good job last night.
And I think last night, too, really put a spotlight on what he's doing here in Detroit. Let me put up the Woj tweet from ESPN last night. Tremendous coup for Detroit GM Troy Weaver to land 2 of his top targets in the draft, Jaden Ivey and Jalen Duren, with the cost of only a future first-round pick, which was Milwaukee's pick, which probably, look, we said yesterday, it's protected 1 to 4. It's probably going to be, 25, 26, 20, at that point, who knows what that's going to be. We're not guaranteed tomorrow, but nonetheless, that's all it cost. And I think Jonathan Giovanni on ESPN last night, he was on with Van Pelt, who won the draft. Well, it was clearly Detroit. And I just like that now Detroit seems to be that sexy, hot team, because I would contend to you, there isn't a young core of players in the entire NBA.
Yeah.
Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey, Jalen Duren, Sadiq Bey, Isaiah Stewart, Killian Hayes. I mean, all these guys are.
Livers is even played, and he's there.
Isaiah Livers. Do not sleep on Isaiah Livers.
Garza.
I'm not saying that because I'm a Michigan guy. Isaiah Livers, you need 3-point shooting. Wait till you see Isaiah Livers this year.
Yeah.
Just quote me on that if you want. But Braylon, there's not a young core in the NBA like that people could be as high on, if not higher, than this group.
When's the last time you've heard of when's the last time you heard of a city winning draft after draft after draft? And to win a draft, ladies and gentlemen, you don't have to draft in the beginning of it. You can win the draft by drafting at the end of it, depending on how good your front office is. You saw what Green Bay did this year. I think Green Bay had a very secret, low-key good draft. But they won the Pistons draft last year by not drafting Jalen Green, in my opinion. They won the the NFL draft this year. They won the NBA draft last night. And I think they finished second or third in winning the Red Wings draft, which is the NHL draft. Detroit, general manager and front office, seems like they finally have become competent to what the city needs and wants.
Braylon, I want to come to you with this first. This team is young. This team is exciting. This team has a lot to learn.
Yeah.
This team is very athletic. This team is on the rise. But what are the realistic expectations for this team next year? 23-59 they were a year ago. Of the 82 games they played, they only won 23 of them. Is there a win total in your mind that is acceptable? Is there a win total in your mind that you would like to see? And you can't say winning the NBA championship. Not next year.
I think, to be honest, I think 32 would be acceptable. I think 32 is around the realm where you say, hey, you know what? Look, they took a 9-game step in the right direction. You see it'd be a second year next year for Jaden Ivey. It would be a second year. You get what I'm saying.
Yep.
It would be the end of his first year. I think it would be a good first year for that. Cade Cunningham, it would be his second year as a leader. I think Sadiq Bey was fine and established his role this season. I think that's what his job is. Sadiq Bey step up. Sadiq Bey step up. Sadiq Bey step up. So I think 32 would be the acceptable number. I got him at 38.
And again, Sean, this isn't, we don't even know who this team is yet.
Yeah.
I mean, what is today? June 24th. So we've still got about 13 days, 2 full weeks before the free agent period starts.
The reason why
trades.
The reason why I said 32 is I think the acceptable number, and the 38 is where I had him. Cade Cunningham is beyond his years as a leader. Mm-hmm. Like, you watched him starting in camp last year, like he was leading, and they wanted to follow him. They had no problems. There were no little quarrels. There were no little skirmishes, at least nothing that came out. They followed him. He was very vocal. Like, this guy gets it. He didn't talk about being what did they ask him after the first 13 games? He said, I don't want to be the rookie of the first month. He said, I want to be the rookie of the year. I want to be the player of the year. I want to be what they need me. You saw him defer at times. You saw him step up and score 27 points in the half when he needed to. So I think last year you saw what he could be as a leader, and that's why I think 32 is what's acceptable after what I saw out of him. Now you add Jaden Ivey, Jalen Duren, and maybe some more pieces in the free agency like you meant. I realistically think 38 is what they're going to do, and what they have the capacity so far to do.
Sean?
Yeah. Absolutely. I'm right in foot and step with Braylon in the sense that I think an acceptable thing is anything over 30 wins. You want to see progression. You want to see us go into a different step. I mean, this is a team over the past 2 years that has combined 43 wins over 2 seasons. I mean, the first 1 year was shortened due to COVID, but obviously still not where you want to be. I think anything above 30 wins is an acceptable season for them, but I'm going to go with 35, 36 wins. You're looking at about what kind of teams are holding that record this past year, and you're looking at teams like the Wizards, the Knicks, and it's like, I think we can be better than the Wizards next year. I think there's certainly room for that. So you look at who's around that area. You look at who's in that bubble. I think the Pistons certainly have a chance to possibly push for a play-in game and perhaps even an 8 seed in the playoffs if they truly go crazy there.
And that's another thing why I think 32 is acceptable. And I got him at 38, but I think 32 is acceptable because one thing we're not talking about, one thing we got to remember, the East is the new beast.
Yep.
This is not the old East. This isn't the one LeBron was dancing on for years and years. The East is real now, and that's who they're going to play against. Their division alone is tough as nails. So I think that's why you look at 32 and you look at them. If they can win 32 games, like he said, I think they're going 38. My twin says 35, 36. But if they can be competitive in those games, if you can be competitive in those 48 to 50 losses and win 32 games, it makes sense considering what the East is as a powerhouse now.
I want to get the YouTube chat involved. Mark Royal says 45 wins. Randy Ballin, Balin says 35 is realistic. Yeah. Not making the playoffs as currently constructed. Cole Culkin says 40. Cube says anything close to 500. 3M are right. Super young. No real vets unless you count Kojo or Kelly O. Duke Nokem, 42. Benjamin Foe, 33. I am going to say 43.
I knew you were going to say
over 500. And I'll tell you why, though. 43 wins. This team is $34 million in cap space this year. So I do think they are going to make a big splash in the free agency or a sign and trade or something like that to get a marquee player here. Whether it be DeAndre Ayton, whether it be Miles Bridges. I am not a Miles Bridges guy. I think he's super athletic. I think he's a very good player. But I just think he stunts the growth of Sadiq Bey and Cade Cunningham to me. Because I might not know anything, but that's how I feel about it.
Yeah.
I just don't think you need him. I don't think you need to spend your money there. Personally, I could be wrong on that. I'm okay. It's just a sports opinion.
I love it how you I can understand why you say that. You don't see Miles Bridges as a all-star type player. You don't see Miles Bridges, like they were trying to say about KD, making a team better. You just see Miles Bridges as an athlete. You see Miles Bridges as having, he stepped outside. He can shoot a little bit this year. He's athletic. But you don't see him as a guy, he's going to change our franchise. I can understand that.
Yeah, I feel like you got Sadiq Bey. You don't need to go spending a max deal on Miles Bridges.
Yeah.
That's how – it's not so much about Miles Bridges as much as it is I'm high on Sadiq Bey. Right. I think Sadiq Bey can become Miles Bridges. So you got that guy here already. Don't stunt the growth. But 43 wins to me just quickly,
Go ahead,
Braylon.
go ahead, please.
43. Last year, Charlotte got into the play-in game. They were the 10th seed in the East, 43 and 39. So you said the East is the beast. You got to be above 500. There's no 10 game under 500 to get you into the play-in. You're going to have an above 500 record. I'd love to see 43. I'd love to see this team sneak into a play-in next year, even if they lose. Sneak into a playoff. I think that would be incredibly. That would be an incredible jump next year because I just don't think they're done.